Namaste. Welcome, beautiful souls. Welcome back to questions. Questions, exploration of the Tarot de Marseille majors. And I suppose my greatest question is, what is the influence here? And how might I adapt, carry forward through inspiration, understanding of the tarot beyond the contemporary decks? And I really don't know what the answer today is going to be with this particular card. I have been preparing for this one for a little bit, and maybe it's just not rocket science, this one. I really kind of appreciate the more esoteric meanings of this card. And also love reflecting on the mythology of Samson and Hercules, and looking at the possibility that this card may also reflect a different aspect of the magician. The street performer is now in the circus. You know, there's so many ways that we could work with this. Yatisa, welcome to D. Yatisa, I'm not doing live readings now. I'm just studying related to a specific. Oh, yeah, you can ask about a card for sure, as long as it's not in terms of like a reading. Today I'm focusing on, in particular, on this card, but put your question in the chat and we'll see if I can answer it for you today. All right. So strength. Where do you want to begin? What does Page of Cups mean? Yatisa, after this video is finished, then come back and put this question down below, and I'd be happy to expand on it. But in a nutshell, Page of Cups is, well, there's so many layers, and without a question, it's hard to understand. But pages in general reflect new beginnings, naivety. They are an opportunity for you to get in touch with and heal your inner child. That's one for sure. And letting down your guard, being a little more free and carefree, and letting down some of the expectations of adulthood. Okay, so especially if you put your question that it was in relation to down below, then I'd be happy to answer more for you. Okay? All right, so back to strength. Just for a moment here, I was thinking about Samson and the hair, and the fact that this woman, or this androgynous figure, has her hair all tied up and protected. I never thought about that before. It's kind of interesting that the power is in the hair. What about her appearance in the True TDM card? This one? You mean in the Noble? Yeah, it's a good question. And when I was first studying tarot and reading Robin Wood. Yatisa, I'll come back to this after, once I'm finished my discussion, okay? And Robin Wood was one of the only deck creators that of contemporary tarot that ever addressed the importance of how the hair was tied. And she was very intentional about the symbolic nature of loose hair, netted hair, all of this, plaited hair. And I think it is symbolic. But as J.M. David also describes, it was part of a style for an extended period of time. And perhaps is connected to the virtues, for sure. Hello, Milky. So, yeah, it's definitely not loose and free. It is tied up. It's put away. There is an impression of propriety and virtue. Yeah. And when I think about it, Dee, honestly, in terms of propriety, in terms of virtue, and the image with the lion here, it seems like a paradox between the connection to the animal, whether this is a metaphorical animal, an animal within, or this is her indeed working with a pet or working with an animal. I mean, it's kind of obvious, right? It's how do you not see the comparison to our relationship or exploring the relationship with the animal within, the animal nature. And whether it is a bear or a lion, I don't want to say it's irrelevant, but I did appreciate the historical tour in David's book through reminding us of how the aristocracy or the nobility collected or kept quite a menagerie during a certain period of time. And so it was not uncommon to have rare animals in a compound of the rich. And so there would have been people who cared for these animals. And so that's a whole other consideration. And so when I reflect on the idea of virtue, and it almost feels like a question of playing with or testing my virginity, or just dipping my toes in the water of what would it feel like to step outside of these boundaries? What is the relationship of my free will with the boundaries that have been set by a society, by a culture? I was always kind of intrigued with the variants with the column broken or about to be broken by the fair maiden. Yeah, and is the fair maiden, is this just a replacement for Samson? And we're putting a fair maiden in here as a... I feel that you need to respond to this in terms of the reading. And there is definitely a claiming of one's power, of one's... And is this not really Well, actually, that's a really good point, Aria. So while she was growing up, she was kept pure and virgin and in her complete lunar self. And now she is testing her solar energy. She is stepping out and connecting to her solar energy. She's wanting to explore her masculinity. She's wanting to explore the masculine. I don't think it's much more complicated than that. And then, we go from a card like this. How do we get from this to the lust card in the Crowley deck? I mean, and I don't think the conversation is so different. It's just a matter of extreme. And when I look at the Dodal deck, which is the one here, and the way that this depicts, and what did you call the thing around the neck? The fabric that was worn around the neck. Here, this looks more like a piece of armor or something that would be worn after a neck surgery, to keep the neck in alignment. I mean, there's a bar on the back. And I know there's also discussion of the sleeves, the gauntlets on the sleeve and things like that. But there's something kind of creepy here. So, and then here, this is the soprafino. Another thing too that I think I want to, because this is very different, and she or they, it almost looks like a man in ladies' clothing, has very fat feet, very big feet. You see the bare feet and actually wrestling or even playing with the lion in an exhibition sort of way. So maybe this is the one who went into the menagerie and tousled with the wildlife just for fun. I don't know. It's very bizarre, the whole thing. So and the way that, so this is skin color on the neck and white on the face. Almost looks like there is a mask. And if we go to this Marcella tarot, he has interpreted this quite differently, because you see a little bit of loose hair coming down, and if anything, it looks more like a double chin than some sort of restraint on the neck. And there is no force whatsoever on the mouth of the lion. And then I was also thinking about what is the difference between force and la force. And you, as a reader, will need to take some time to explore whether you are picking up the energy of fortitude or courage, bravado, boldness. I mean, there's a lot of similar adjectives that might help uncover what this card is saying in a reading. And I don't think it's abundantly clear. Yeah, she's also wearing gauntlets. What about she does have some metallic things on her wrists in this card. Honestly, I don't know. I pulled out this deck. this is the pagan otherworlds, because as you are aware, Flournoy talks about the animal in the Noble Tarot as a bear, not a lion. And when I look at the black and white in this deck, I'm reminded of, okay, this is a story of the yin and the yang, and the yin and the yang making peace and finding a balance with each other. And if this card is the number 11, this is a story of the one and the one. It's a story of balance. It might take us to the one and the one of the High Priestess. And so I'm leaning in that direction. Of perhaps being or having a history of submissiveness, and then this card indicating this is a shift of balance towards becoming a whole person through acknowledging one's fortitude. And that's not what I would say if I were reading this through a contemporary tarot deck. It would be about inner will. Inner will. And so perhaps this is also a story of a question of divine will and inner will. And questioning will, right? Will of the family, will of the community, will of the church. And how do I find my place within all of those parameters? Armor, hunting gloves, or falconer. The nobility would have understood the connotations of power. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I even have more to say about this card. And if this ever presents as a power over, you use the word man killer, like she was actually a budding man killer. Wow, what if this were a card of wanting to kill my inner drive, wanting to nip my sexual drive in the bud, so to speak, to deny my passion, to deny my will, to deny my power. Tapping into the deep power of my inner feminine, I have enough strength to control, suppress, or kill my solar energy. How awful is that? The lion, right? The lion is known as lion-heartedness. There was a king, right? The lion-hearted king. There, astrologically speaking, the lion is connected to the energy of the heart. So I wonder where and how the heart is connected here, the lion-heartedness. The exposed heart. And I know in the and Camilla Elias's first book, the figure here is bare-breasted, so you don't see the clothing, as in many of the Marseille decks. There's like 3 or 4 cards where you see the nipples. And so I was thinking about that as well too. There is there an open-heartedness that is required to understand one's fortitude, one's strength? Denying one's power is possible, but I was thinking more like, I am my own person and I will defend my own honor if need be. Respect me, and I can maybe be a pussycat, but if you are worthy, we'll come back to that. Her position in the reading might also show if the querent is gaining or losing their fortitude or courage. That's true, Dee. For the most part, she's always facing in the same direction. It's only in that, well, that's not true. I guess we need to read the direction of the deck that we are working with. And this would be a lovely card to come up if you were hearing lots of self-deprecation and insecurity. What is your, what's that word that, it's from one of the Yoga Nidra series. They call it your inner resource. How to tap into your inner resource. And so here the lion is what's the tool? It's the method of tapping into that. And it makes me think, because I know how, and I want to read you something actually. I pulled out, I've had the Voyager Tarot on the table this week, and I would like to read you just a little bit from that guidebook, which is in front of me. But how sometimes we have an action or a thing that we do to say, okay, I'm ready to take this on. Let's begin. And symbolically, there's something that we do to that signals that strength is showing up. This is from the guidebook by James Wanless. Strength represents rulership and control, which translates into the law of self-dominion. This means the full and free but controlled expression of mind, heart, body, and spirit in yin and yang forms. Strength is total living. Live in full accord with the undiluted multiplicity of your being. I love that. Live in full accord with the undiluted multiplicity of your being. Strengths number 11 as double ones symbolizes your confident and self-assured expression of the magician abilities. Following fortune number 10, and upon fortune's attainment and resources. The digits of number 11 added together create 2, symbolizing dualistic expression, yin and yang. This dualistic versatility is what gives strength. It's strength. This is in accord with the Kabbalah letter name for strength, Tath, which means snake. Like the snake, strength represents the fiery yang quality of the snake-like kundalini energy, and also the watery yin flexibility of the supple snake. The origin of the word strength is from the Old English strengthu, the and then he goes on to talk about some of the mythology. Would a person have the strength to force open the creature's jaws, or is the animal under her mesmeric powers? It depends if there was a relationship with the animal. It depends. And what I'm sensing here is that there is in order for that to happen, there would be rather than a mesmeric quality, a connection, a power of connection between the beast and the person. So it's like they become one. They are one. Has she overcome her basic animal instincts? Is she, see, and that's the question. Has she overcome them, or is she finding them? Is she discovering them? Is she rediscovering them? There are so many questions here, and I think it is this is it's a really important card in a reading, and gives the reader permission to ask some of these deep questions. And I don't think we can answer this question unless we are responding to it in terms of a particular reading. Sometimes. I know that there are animals who, like dogs, who cannot have their toenails clipped. They would have to be sedated. There are some animals that cannot be groomed. Yeah, this is a very, very powerful question. Most interpretations I've seen generally indicate the beast is the internal emotional energy within herself. Yeah. And you have the power to find the direction you need to go. I think there are too many interpretations of this card to say that it means this. And I never want to do that as a reader. I never want to limit myself to a particular I want to be open. I really do. Okay, so I know this is a very contemporary deck. This is the one in the purple box. This is New Choice. New Choice, Tarot de Marseille. And I think the statement here says, like what one of you said, I have found peace with my power. I have found peace with my power. And, sometimes in this card, you'll see like a Durga kind of energy. And Durga rides upon a tiger. And this reflects my indomitable spirit, my ability to dig deep when I need it. And I believe that Dee, yes, she has the power to dominate the physical world around her when she chooses. And that might be a budding awareness, and it might be something that we need to be reminded of. And that's why this card comes up in a reading. Yeah. Well, I'm going to leave it to you to decide, and I can't say that there's any one way, but the range of this card is quite remarkable, and the direction one might go. And I think partly that has to do with the range of meanings for the element of fire. And because we can speak to so many things with that element, this card might support empowerment in many, many directions, or awakening empowerment of many directions in your life. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for your contributions to this conversation. And I want to say incomplete conversation. And I may come back to this card in connection to future virtue cards as well. Appreciate you all. Have a lovely rest of your day. Namaste. Thanks, Dee. Thanks, Arya.